Good evening, afternoon, morning, noon, or night, whenever you happen to be watching this, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Majak, and this is episode 9 of the Quad Mid Podcast. We are a week late, but we are here, and that's the important part. As always, I'm joined by my boy, Thaddeus Wild Cucumber Abel, and this week, we would like to announce that we have officially kicked BK Wappa Bailey off the podcast. Tad and I have come to an executive decision. Tad, if you wanted to go more into that.
Yeah, we just decided that people who use camera lock really have no place on the show. And oh shit. But we're willing to make some exceptions. But
in all seriousness, Bailey was not able to make it this week. But in his stead, we have our boy returning for the third time on the Quad Mid Podcast, making him a veteran member and rivaling Bailey's place. Hint, hint, Bailey, missing out on serious podcast notoriety here. Our good friend Sean SK Resist. How you doing today, Sean?
We'll see after this podcast how it's going, but it's going all right.
Our goal by the end of the podcast is to make your day awful. Like I want it to be a terrible day. So
Viewers,
I want you to question why you got out of bed this morning.
Well, I got out of bed to work. I don't know why I came here afterwards. That's the question.
If you came to work, you're in the wrong place, let me tell you. And last but not least, returning for the first time guest to return 2 weeks in a row, ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, or Matt. Matt,
how is it going, everyone? How's it going? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Good to have you back.
No light, no electricity memes today.
I mean, I'm trying to save him up.
Yeah,
I don't want it to get too stale.
I got you. All right, so we're going to be trying out a new format where we're going to read off a brief list of news in the gaming world, and then we're going to comment on it. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. Bungie has finally released the PC edition of their flagship series, Destiny 2. Overwatch has instated a new policy that classifies voice line spamming as a reportable offense, and lastly, Nintendo enthusiasts across the globe are reeling as the release of Super Mario Odyssey is only days away. So I think we'll jump right into the first thing on the list here. I know both Tad and Matt are been playing a lot of Destiny since it came out. I don't know, have you guys played it all on console, or have you just waited for it to come out on PC to play it?
Nope, entirely PC.
Yeah, I've only played on PC.
I obviously played the first Destiny on PS4, but
first reaction so far? How's it playing for you?
If you liked Destiny 1, you'll like Destiny 2. I guess I'm not as far as I'd like to be in it yet to really give a full critique on the game, but I guess to be 100% honest, I didn't care a lot for Destiny 1, and yet here I am buying having Destiny 2. It's okay. It's a decent game. It's not a great game. I guess that's what I would say, and that's kind of my opinion so far after having started here now is, yeah, it's all right, but it's not it doesn't have that wow moment that will make me remember the series.
I think it's something that I really was interested in getting the first Destiny, but at the time of Destiny's release is when I first started playing League of Legends, and as everybody who I'm sure as most of you who listen to the cast know, League of Legends when you first start consumes everything, and then how many years later I still have nothing because League has taken it all from me. So but it's a game that I am keeping my eye on, and I know a lot of people in our friend group and other associates of Quad Mid are loving it. Rack is playing a lot of it. Our friend Jordan is playing a lot of it. So look out for maybe some Destiny 2 content in the future. We'll have to see where the game goes and how our friend group likes playing it, but look out for that. Next on the list, Overwatch has obviously instated a new policy that lets people get banned for spamming voice lines, and we won't go too much in depth on this, but it's just crazy to think how much Blizzard and Riot, I guess the two titans of multiplayer games against each other, how different they have viewed, I guess, as far as in-game conduct, like banning people. Riot has just reeled out a new emote system that literally gives you ways to BM and tilt people spamming emotes, and Blizzard, on the other hand, backtracks and says if you spam even a voice line, you can get reported for that. I don't know what you guys stand with that.
How do
I
they
don't know.
enforce that?
I think it's just player reports.
Yeah. I don't know how they're going to enforce it. I'd also say though that I don't think Riot issued the emote system with the plan of like, great, now all these people have a way to tilt the enemies even more.
Yeah, it's definitely not the plan, but at the same time, that's what it's used for.
That's
right, Matt.
It's pretty much. I would say Riot rolled that out as more of like a response to the community. That's like the player base wanted that.
But I mean, I think Riot understands that their game, like, while they try to filter out the super toxic stuff, they understand that their game has a lot of trash talk in it. And some people may argue that they have no tolerance for it. I think there is a lot of leeway in it. Of course, I've never been banned, so maybe I'm a little biased here, but I mean, I talk a lot of trash, and I think Riot caters to the competitive but friendly trash talk of their community, at least a little bit, versus Blizzard really has no tolerance for it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I guess I've never been banned in League or any Blizzard game either. And everybody knows that as non-toxic as I try to be, I definitely slip.
My personal favorite is when you'll hear the keyboard racing. Tad's going crazy. He's got a whole paragraph for him, and then you just see nothing show up in chat because he's like, "Okay, Tad, we need to be a big boy. We're just gonna backspace this, and we're gonna delete it."
Especially ever since I got that mechanical keyboard, I'm sure my mic will pick it up, but to give you everyone at home a sense of what Scott loves to hear, it's something like.
That's how you know Tad is triggered, boys.
So, yeah.
All hell is broken.
And lastly, on our news, Super Mario Odyssey. This is something that I know it hadn't been really relevant to me until I heard Donkey talk about it on the H3 podcast. But it's something, I don't know. The Mario games for me, they're something I played. I never really got into just because I rarely owned Nintendo consoles until the Wii. I always just would go over to friends' house and play them, and I loved them, but I never completed it. But this is something I have had my eye on picking up a Switch for a while, just because, well, specifically the Pokemon RPG that's set to release later in the year, but we're not going to talk about that. But I think Nintendo keeps on, if this game can be a hit, it can really, I think, boost Nintendo overall and could bring them back to the forefront of games, which arguably they've fallen off in comparison to where they've been before.
I guess for me, the main thing is they're comparing this game to that of Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine. And I don't think many people would question that those have been like the two biggest Mario games to date so far, and two most well praised and well received. Well, I never owned a GameCube, so I only really played Sunshine at friend's house. But I know Matt and Matt can back me up here. As kids, we played the shit out of Super Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64. It was
I totally
awesome. I don't think we've ever stated this, but Matt and Tad are brothers, so yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Tad's surname is Tad Pence Abel. Just
Tad
Pence. My less accomplished brother, he didn't become the vice president, but
who was the starting left tackle? The Cardinals?
Yeah. I mean, Sean is still better than me, but I mean,
Ted, you started, didn't you?
Dude,
left tackle.
We got two generations of Cardinals starting tackles here.
Was it left or right?
No, I was left.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. Suck it, Matt.
Oh, dude.
Couldn't beat out Sean.
Back on track, though.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Well, you've got a track on your profile on your Twitch picture, so it's only fitting that we're staying on it. And I think that's it. That's a good transition into our main topic for this episode, and that is going to be the era of Battle Royale games that is seemingly overtaken a lot of the developers and a lot of the overall gaming space in general, with PUBG rivaling League of Legends for the second overall player base across the world. Is it Epic Games? Yeah, Epic Games has just released access to their open. I'm not sure if it's open or closed beta, but Fortnite is now become available on both console and PC. That's creating a lot of traction, and of course in the back burner, but that kind of, well, I wouldn't say originated the series, but popularized the series. You have H1Z1, which is definitely, I went and revisited it before this podcast just so I could familiarize myself, and they have definitely done a lot to that game to update it and try to bring it back on the par with where their competitors are going. But I think that's really fascinating how the genre has just exploded over the last years, and it's crazy to think that something that didn't exist how many years ago is just such a big deal in gaming these days.
It's kind of like how zombies came out of nowhere with DayZ even, and just exploded from that point on. And even some part in Minecraft, I guess, if you want to consider that. Well, not like a zombie game mode, but
yeah, I remember the era of like Left 4 Dead and like the Call of Duty Zombies mode, and that was the thing, is like you throw zombies in your game and oh my god, best game ever, it has zombies.
I meant more survival as well, like zombies, survival type of stuff. But yes, technically zombies would be more on the Call of Duty side.
That's just kind of interesting. We see the eras of game. Oh, go ahead.
I just said survival games in general. Whatever, 5-10 years ago, probably not 10 now, but 5 years ago, it blew up pretty heavy.
It's just crazy how games evolve. I mean, I'm trying to think back to all the eras. You had the MMO era where it first started with, was WoW one the very? I don't think it was the first ever MMO, but it was the first real popular one.
No, but it was definitely,
and then
definitely
tons
the one that
of games
popularized
originated out of WoW and the whole MMO era, and it ushered in a whole generation of games like that, and then you see games like StarCraft and the kind of and the mods of StarCraft transitioning into Dota. What was Dota originally a mod of?
No, it was Warcraft 3.
Dota was originating in Dota, which was a mod of Warcraft 3, and that kind of ushered in the era of MOBAs, which I think is something that we are on the back foot of. You're not seeing as many MOBAs, but I think that the era of MOBAs is what preceded the era of Battle Royale. What we're in now, I mean, what you saw games like League, Heroes of the Storm, and to a certain extent Overwatch. It kind of bridged the gap between MOBAs and shooters, I think. And now you're seeing a huge transition of this Hunger Games, everybody drop in the sky and loot shit and kill each other style Battle Royale genre, and it's interesting to see how long this is going to last and which game ends up the king of it at the end when everything's said and done. Obviously PUBG has the train right now, and the hype is going full steam ahead.
The clear advantage.
But it'll be interesting to see, because the game definitely is not issue free, I think. At least, I don't know if you all agree with me, but PUBG definitely isn't a flawless game by any means.
Oh yeah. Well, and we talked about to backtrack just a little bit here. We had talked about the era of like survival crafting games. I found some meme a while back that had Steam tags, and it said the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and it was early access, survival, crafting, open world. And I think those games kind of led into the Battle Royale modes, but with so many the big Battle Royale games still being considered early access, I think it's really hard to see or know for sure where everyone will all end up.
PUBG is actually pretty close to at least a console release. I don't know if they're going to consider it a full game release, but I believe they have it slated for November that they want to come out on consoles. I don't have the exact citation on that, but our friend Carter was telling me about that. I mean, but it's just crazy because I think if you look back to the earliest versions of this, obviously there was a Battle Royale game mode in Arma. Is that where Brendan Green, Player Unknown, did he make that one? Do you guys know at all? Or
helped make the mod. I don't know if he's the sole proprietor behind it, but
and
yeah, definitely.
That Arma was DayZ was obviously a mod of Arma, or Arma 2, I should say. Did DayZ have a Battle Royale mode, or was it just the standard open world, Sean?
DayZ, it was just the survival game mode as far as I'm aware. I don't know if they ever modded it to have Battle Royale, but I'm pretty sure it was just survival.
And then from there, H1Z1, and it initially launched as a more crafting oriented version of DayZ, and it was more player friendly and more forgiving on deaths, I guess. And I can remember when that game came out, it was, I think the hype for H1Z1 on its launch almost trumped that of PUBG. PUBG obviously I think overtook it eventually, but I think I can remember every single Twitch streamer was just all over H1Z1 when it came out, and this was before Battle Royale had even launched. I don't know if you remember watching streams or any content on that when the game was first open to the public, Tad, at all?
Yeah, I do. And to be 100% honest, I kind of just wrote it off as, oh man, survival, crafting, open world, early access, woohoo.
It's kind of see, to me, I don't know. When Sean and I were living together freshman year in the dorms, watching him play DayZ would just get me so much wanted a game like that, but having my brick of a laptop back then, not owning a desktop, I wasn't sure if I could run it. But when H1Z1 finally came out, it looked like a game that was a little better optimized, or at least easier to run, so I was ecstatic to get the chance to play that game. And when it finally came out, I realized that it did, well actually, it wasn't until the Battle Royale update that my laptop actually started having a hard time running the game. But I remember playing the original version of DayZ, and then out of nowhere comes the Player Unknown, before he was Player Unknown, Brendan Green, and he helps develop a Battle Royale mode, and that just completely changes the scope of the game. And one could argue that it even killed the original survival game within H1Z1.
Yep, I know. I'd definitely agree. I mean, at one point they had even split the games apart, and now I think we saw in the Steam library they're back together.
What the official word is on that, but
yeah, we don't. Yeah, but we saw them like split the games in two, and basically saying that, hey, we're gonna leave Just Survive in the dust because no one's. I should say no one's playing that, but the greater majority is definitely playing our Battle Royale mode.
And the greater majority of Battle Royale players are playing PUBG. I guess
now
it's hard to say what other developers will jump in the game. I know Rockstar added a Battle Royale mode to GTA, and it'll be interesting to see if any other really big players come into this. Obviously Rockstar is a big name, but they haven't made their own title. I mean, Epic Games is probably the biggest developer to enter it, with having made games like
Fortnite was a game mode before, or was a game before they added the Battle Royale.
Was it?
Mode to it.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it was like a base building wave defense, I think.
But yeah.
I just remember.
I don't know. Maybe we could touch on our experience in Fortnite a little bit. I've only played a few games of it, but I really enjoyed the building aspect of it. I know a common meme that was thrown around our Discord was a Minecraft simulator, but I remember the game Sean and I played. We literally just we farmed trees for the first 10 minutes of the game, and then we just built as high as we could on a stairway until we died.
Yeah, that was quite a bit of fun.
But as far as the actual gameplay of Fortnite goes, I don't know. I think I still prefer PUBG. I don't know where you stood with the actual gameplay of it, Sean. I know you probably played the same amount of Fortnite as me, but what was your experience with it?
Yeah, I think the downfall of it for me was the RNG and the shooting. I don't like that at all. It just takes away a lot of the skill behind it, in my opinion. When you can't rely solely on your shot, you have to adjust for that as well. But I think wasn't H1 kind of like that as well, though. I don't think it was completely straight.
But between the RNG and like, I think H1 is like the in between completely casual and like hardcore. It falls in between where PUBG is the hardcore battle royale and Fortnite is the casual cartoony. Like in terms of like art style and I think shooting style, it does serve that medium, but it's as the player charts will show, it's kind of hurting it because rather than catering to one audience over the other, trying to cater to both, and then the one audience is gaining a lot of popularity while the more casual audience is just going for the game that's more suited to them. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's I'm in the minority here, but I'm always rooting for. I'm still in the back of my mind rooting for H1 to make a comeback and for Daybreak to finally figure their shit out, and hopefully they can make some. I mean, they definitely have done a lot to the game. Don't get me wrong, but bring some of the player base back because honestly, for me, even though PUBG has a lot of improvements over H1, I think I preferred the experience on H1Z1, and I never play it simply because PUBG is what literally all my friends are playing. Like, every single day when I get off of work, there's at least like 3 people ready to play PUBG at all times. It seems it's easy to get a party going. Versus even when everybody was playing H1, it was never like that.
I really don't expect H1 to change.
Yeah.
It's been this way for so many years now. There's no way there's going to be some massive overhaul. They kind of know what they have in their audience. They're not going to go and drastically change things. So
I'm not holding out hope. It's just kind of a hope at this point. But
yeah.
Go ahead, Tad.
I do think they could make a new game because it's been that long that this one's been out. But I don't know why they would do that either. I think they just keep cashing in on this one.
If they were to just abandon this and start a new game, I mean, you're like, okay, well, what about this game I bought, and
it's not even is it out of early still? No, I guess I don't even know.
It's not.
Yeah, so I guarantee you they'd lose some backers if they do that as well.
Oh,
because they can't complete one game. Why are you going to do the next one any better?
Exactly.
So they've kind of dug themselves a pretty big hole with this. And to see where unknowns come in just a short time is pretty insane.
Remarkable.
Yeah. Something though I had thought was funny was the Players Unknown's devs wrote an open letter a while ago now to Epic Games saying that they don't mind other people making battle royale type games, but they should at least be different and offer something new to the game and not just be such a copy. I was like, well, you can build stuff in Fortnite.
They called Fortnite the whole map a copy straight up, huh? Holy cow!
Yeah, and oh man, I should have found that article.
Trump in office, anybody.
It was like anything,
dude. That's crazy, man. Mr. Pence, you need to control.
Yeah, come on, man.
I'm sorry, yeah. I'm doing the best I can. Okay.
Oh man.
There you go. Players Unknown calls out PUBG.
Drama alert. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? What's up, Quad Mid Nation? Player Unknown versus
Let's
Epic Games.
get right.
I don't know, Matt. Did you play a lot of Fortnite, or I don't think I've ever.
I haven't played it at all yet, to be honest. I installed it. Does that count?
Honestly, that's like I think I've spent more time installing the game than I have playing it. The install is ridiculously long. And
I don't know how long they've been working on it, but I will say they've done a pretty good job at making it crisp and run well.
Yeah, and so I watched some gameplay of it, and I feel like, honestly, it seems like it has a different enough premise, especially with being able to build stuff. That alone, I feel like, is a big enough mechanic in the game to change the way that you play it enough to where it's not a copy anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to, Minecraft Simulator, you have to farm materials to build shit, and there's plenty of times where, like, you're trying to snipe a dude, and then they just throw up a wall, and then you shoot the wall down, and then they're gone, and it's like, oh, well, great.
Well, and I mean, like, think about how hypocritical that is, too, for them to claim that Fortnite is a copy when they pretty much copied H1Z1 anyways. So what's...
I don't think that was specifically their main issue. I thought it was something to do with them possibly working more towards their own game and that engine being specifically catered towards Fortnite rather than helping out Battlegrounds with their troubles and whatnot.
Because I know, because Battlegrounds bought or is using the engine that Epic Games developed, right?
Correct. And now they're thinking that maybe they'll just shove all their efforts into specifically, like I said, catering it for Fortnite instead of Battlegrounds or helping with it. I think that was more their argument rather than copying.
Okay. That makes sense. It's just, I don't know, that's kind of crazy to see because, I mean, even though, like, the guy who kind of pioneered the Battle Royale game mode, Brendan Green, is the one who made he literally is player unknown. They still did pull it straight from H1Z1, like the premise of the game, which in H1Z1 pulled it from the mod back in Arma 2.
Which Brendan helped create.
I mean, it's
in Arma.
It stands on the line.
What I think?
Right on the line of. Oh, go ahead.
I think they're scared. Okay, I think they're just scared that Fortnite or the Epic Games Fortnite is the better Battle Royale, and people are gonna realize it.
Dude, clearly, their player base is just dwindling by the day. But
the song, like, no,
God, we need to get Jake to finish that game he was making.
That's right.
Turn it into a
game? He was creating his textures in Blender, and he actually had a whole map built out. What was he gonna call it? Oh,
I forget. I honestly can't recall right now.
Yeah, our friend Jake.
Cool.
He had a map,
He was super into Nazi zombies. We were all big fans of Call of Duty Zombies back in the day. But Jake, he took it to himself to try and develop his own game just off of Blender models, and he had a few animations made, I know. And I think like the whole undertaking of the game got to be too much, and he kind of gave up. But it was just cool to see that develop. But that's
he had like a sniper and a map done, I think, as far as I remember.
That's a completely different rabbit hole. I don't know. I think PUBG, I've definitely had a lot of great moments. It's a hugely popular game. Almost more of my friends play PUBG than they do League at this point. But that being said, like I think the experience that you get is a lot more hardcore. Like you're in a super tactical, realistic survival scenario versus the experience I had back in H1Z1, and this is something I felt while playing Fortnite, is the game felt more like an adventure almost. Like it wasn't about just, okay, I landed on this island, I have to do everything in my power to survive. It was, okay, I landed with a bunch of friends, let's wander around this map and, you know, look for weapons and get into skirmishes and run away, and, you know, I don't know, it just felt a lot more like about the journey rather than the actual gameplay, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess that was your first Battle Royale though game, right? So everything was new, and it was like everything was like, oh man, what do I expect?
But
I don't know. For me, I know like I played World of Warcraft during its peak, right? And I can't play it anymore. I don't have the time, and I don't think I'm one of those people who say it's changed. It's not what it was anymore. But I don't think I could play any MMO like that as seriously or as much as I did Warcraft, because it'll just never be the same as that first time of this whole new world to explore, and like everything. There's so many questions to answer, and like now everything's just kind of like, okay, what's the best build that I can do? All right, this guy does the most damage. I'm gonna play him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, H1Z1, I don't think it'll ever regain its former popularity, but it's just fun to reminisce on, like the moments and stuff in game. And I think one thing that while the RNG shooting aspect of that game arguably can be frustrating in terms of consistency, it does lend itself to a more, I don't know, like that adventures playstyle that I was preaching to, where you're not immediately punished for moving out of cover with a headshot by some guy who's looted in 8 times in the first 5 minutes in the game and hasn't moved since, you know, and that can sometimes be frustrating in PUBG. Of course, it's just a completely different game in the way it's played, where if you shouldn't be moving into the open cover anyways, and you should be playing a lot more tactically. And I think that's a lot of people I know, that's why Sean enjoys the game so much more, just because it feels more simulation based rather than a cartoony-esque video game.
Correct. Yeah, that's why I enjoy it so much.
I think my favorite thing to do in Players Unknown Battleground is the stealth tactic mode, and I know I don't know why, I can't really justify why it's fun, but for me, you crawl around the whole map by yourself and you never get seen. But I think that the fog map, every time I get the fog map in the game, is just the best day ever, because I think it makes the game so much more fun, and because it's just stealthy, and like the atmosphere just feels so much more like creepy and ominous.
Dude.
And I love it.
Yeah, and I've barely even gotten that fog map. That's kind of crazy. I think I've had it once or twice, maybe.
Aren't they making a desert map too
and
now?
A winter map, I think.
Those will be cool. I think maybe that's what I just need to, because it's a good game, and I know I'll play a round of it or two, and then I feel like I'm satisfied with it. Maybe just a new map, or like maybe if there's more of the fog map, more of a rain, and then like new maps will kind of rekindle that fire in me for Players Unknown.
Obviously, they keep the servers the way they are, or they keep the map selection the way it is, so to keep the queue times really snappy, because as soon as everybody readies up, it's instant you're in a match. But it would be nice to be able to select, you know, I want to go to the rain map, or I want to go to the fog map, you know, and just play in the environments. And I mean,
maybe even too, if you could like set a preference.
That'd be nice.
That way you wouldn't get it, but like
fan base too much, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it is massive already, but I think it still splits it up to the point where you'd almost not want to do that.
I mean, they already have how many different queues with solo duos, and then squads, and then you throw in the first persons into the mix, and you're splitting it up a lot. I know, not to veer off too much of the current topic, but League has notoriously kept out a lot of their popular game modes, albeit Earth, One for All, and Hexakill, just because if they kept those queues around all the time, nobody could get queue times in anything, because it split up the player base too much. And that being said,
I had not thought. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that for Players Unknown.
That being said, I don't know. I feel like you'll be able to, if it'll either randomly rotate through the maps, or you'll be able to select which maps you want to play on going into the game. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that, but we should find out in the coming months, as it's set to release pretty soon. I guess overall, I don't know. Do you guys have any overall frustrations with the genre in general, or like anything that you'd like to change about like any of the games at all, or do you like the direction it's going right now?
Are you specifically talking like H1 and Pub, or
as an example, I'd say PUBG, just because it's the popular game. But like,
yeah,
I know I talked about I'll let you go real quick, but I know, to give an example, I talked about wanting to see airplanes added into H1Z1, and everybody drops from an airplane, and then how soon later PUBG releases literally that. But just go ahead.
No, I do. I think Battlegrounds has probably been one of the most beneficial things to the Steam library in terms of, well, not even just the genre, but early access games. I think it's kind of set the bar for every potential up and coming big game, with just the process they've gone through of making massive gains in progress to the game over a short amount of time. I think that's kind of something each company should base off of. I get they have a lot more resources with the millions of dollars they've made, but I'd say they've kind of set the bar high.
No, I'd agree. I think I know I feel like I rap on early access games a lot, but I think Players Unknown is definitely a light in a very dark tunnel for early access games, and showing people that good games will make it through the early access and being full released. But
I had to give Squad a shout out again. We will do a Squad episode eventually. It's just we're playing other things.
Oh yeah,
Squadcast.
The Squadcast.
I don't know, Matt. Do you have anything to add as far as changes to Battle? Because you seem like somebody who gets frustrated with the game a lot. And I mean, what frustrates you about it, and what do you think could be changed to better the game?
I think the biggest thing that could be changed about the game is probably the physics engine, just in general. It doesn't seem very natural at all. And I know it's a video game, but I've played games where it feels natural, right? Where it doesn't feel awkward when you're running around and stuff like that, especially the driving. I think we can all agree the driving in that game is absolute trash.
That's what makes it so fun half the time, is the little quirks with the driving and the actual driving physics. I don't know.
Well, I see your point with that. I get what you're saying too, but I feel like
when you stayed in the outside of the zone to get better loot, and then you hit an invisible texture, and your bike goes spiraling into a tree, and you down yourself way away from your team.
So, bikes are frustrating, but I don't know if I've ever collided with another vehicle, exploded, and then got angry. It usually is followed by some sort of humorous reaction. I don't think I've gotten mad at that.
You guys made me think of something. I'd like it so that you can roll when you get out of a vehicle, and maybe you still take damage, but at least you don't go instantly down every time, no matter what.
I think that's...
Because I know there's been a lot of times where, like, we've been rolling and then suddenly we get shot at, and my instinct is I have to get out of the car and shoot these guys. And then I push F, and then I'm dead. I'm like, God damn it! Like,
that's one thing I miss from H1, dude. So I know it's not realistic, but getting out of a car full speed and just shooting at people felt so fun, especially because you could launch the car at people. But that's definitely one thing that I think PUBG in particular could adapt. Well, obviously they want to keep realism there, and they don't want people flying out of 60-mile-an-hour cars, snapping instantly somebody's head and doming them. But I think removing where you instantly down for getting out of a moving car, I think, would be a good change. Maybe you take it so they only literally have 1 health if they're going fast enough, or you take a chunk of their health and then they can't sprint for a while or something. But stuff like that.
The issue with that is it turns into like what H1 is now. I don't know if you watch those tournaments, but that's all it is. In endgame, it's just people riding around in vehicles and hopping out quick whenever they need cover.
Obviously, you need to balance it a little bit. Like, I take away shooting, but it's still the idea that if you accidentally press a button and you fall out of the car, you're immediately downed.
I don't know. I agree with that, personally.
What if you added like a roll animation, and so that you couldn't just snap, you had to do the roll first, and then you could get up, and maybe you roll into a crouched position, and then you'd have to get up and shoot, or lay down and shoot, or whatever. But then the people would still have that reaction time, or you'd have to go through that roll animation first before you just like got out and there you were and shot.
Something like that, I think, would be great. Even adding like a 4-second delay on shooting just to make it balanced, so we don't get that H1 scenario that Sean was speaking about. Another.
You're talking like half to low speed, right? You're not talking full speed jump out.
Or well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd agree. If you get out of a full speed moving vehicle, you should still probably go down, or at least take a large chunk of damage, rolling or no rolling.
I would say up to half speed you should be all right, but anything over that, I would say kill him or put him down.
I guess I'd have to know exactly how fast half speed is.
Yeah.
They do give you the speedometer, to be fair.
I haven't paid any attention.
I know.
Take notes.
I know one thing I'd love to see in any Battle Royale game mode is adding almost like an obstacle tower, or like a treasure island, not a literal island, but like like a place on the map that is like literally like just getting to it is physically hard, because like the jumps are hard, and obviously there's going to be the obstacles of other people. They could add even traps or something, but then putting like the best loot and gun, like crate level loot, on top of that obstacle, and maybe it's something that falls out of the zone and it's never relevant, but I don't know. I know you guys play the game differently, but for me to have like an area like that where you have to literally go through hell and high water, but it's like high risk, high reward, and you get the best loot in the game for doing that, is something I'd love to see implemented. And maybe it wouldn't work in Battlegrounds as well, but I think something like that in Fortnite, I think, could really play itself well, you know?
Yeah, you're the guy who wants to go for every crate no matter what. We could have level 3 vest, helmet, backpack.
I'm all about those crazy moments, and you know, if we win in the process, good on you. Versus you guys like to play, I want to win, you know, and that's fine. But I mean, it's different players enjoy different parts of the same game.
But what if they put like a giant tower in the middle of the map, and like it was like a jump puzzle to get up to the tower, but it'd also be like insanely hard to shoot. Like, or it would be insanely hard to get up there, and people would be able to shoot at you while you climbed the tower.
That's exactly
on top
what
of the
I'm
tower.
talking about. Like something like that. I don't think it would really fit well in a game like Battlegrounds, but Fortnite could definitely implement something like that with its art style and the style of the game. I don't know, Matt. Where do you stand as far as experience that you enjoy with Battlegrounds? Are you somebody that likes to play more realistic and a more tactical style like Sean and Tad, or are you somebody who likes to go for wild moments and just kind of?
I mean, it can be both. Honestly, you can have realism and still have the wild moments, and there can still be times where it's not really realistic, but it doesn't. It's not a detriment to the experience of the gameplay, right? I think that's the bigger thing. It's things like when you at 2 miles an hour and then you die, right? It's like, what the heck just happened, you know? Stuff like that. And I mean, I'm sure there's 100 different examples I could give if I was actually playing the game, but I mean, because I can think of tons of times, like you said before, where you're just driving and then all of a sudden you just fly in the air and die. Your whole team is dead, right?
Granted,
Granted,
that's a mistake of the driver, but still, the fact that it's so easy for that mistake to happen is kind of frustrating.
Yeah. Like, there's no clear way on how to not make that happen, really, besides just don't drive fast at all. Pretty much, from my experience, anyways. That's why I pretty much never drive anymore, because I just don't want the guilt of killing everybody.
That's why I love taking my own vehicle.
I mean, it's that bad,
I love
honestly.
taking my own vehicle solely for that reason, so I can go and drive around like a madman, and I don't have to have Rack screaming in my ear, "Scott, you son of a bitch, you killed me, and I lost my 3 times vest," you know? Oh.
That's the whole other thing is Rack wants to shoot at anything that moves.
I mean, Rack's got a different play style than both you and me, where he wants to just kill everything and everything. I want to go for crazy moments, and Tad wants to be super stealth man, and Sean just wants to play a tactical sim type experience.
Sean just wants COD 4 back.
I really do. I want
none of that remastered shit.
Even MW2 remastered would suffice, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like Activision could do it. If they announce it, I guarantee that's something we'll talk about on the podcast. Like almost everybody that's in our friend group now originated from a Call of Duty background. Like, that's where all of us came from. I think that's like the game franchise that brought everybody that you'll see on this podcast together. But
I think they also need to get rid of the damn loot crates because it's basically ruined remastered.
Definitely.
COD 4 remastered, whatever.
Is something that I know Tad and I have discussed, spending an entire episode debating in the future, and I think if you guys want to hear us talk about loot crates, that's something that's on our docket for a future episode. But we won't go too much in depth. But I mean, loot crates, are they good or bad? I say a little bit of both. And it also depends on who's doing it and how they're doing it, right?
True. Yeah. I think in COD 4's case, or remastered, they added in weapons that were actually more beneficial. Right. So it could be pay to win. I think it actually had some guns that were a little overpowered. So yes. And then I thought I just read somewhere that there was a game. Maybe that was this Battlefront 2, but they were adding in guns that were better than the free ones, and throwing new players in with people that purchase those weapons just so they would get upset and buy crates to unlock stuff. I forgot what that was, but yeah, I did read that somewhere.
I guess to kind of bridge back into the Battle Royale thing of crates, I think that's one gripe that people had with H1Z1 is the game was so almost felt like it was centralized around making DLC rather than fixing their damn game, you know? They spent a lot of time making skins, not a lot of time of making their vehicles not blow up when they run into a park bench. But versus PUBG, I think that's one thing that hands down they've done better, right? I mean, the battle points after the game and building to a crate it's something that makes every game you feel meaningful, and like even if it's not a lot, like you build up to those crates, and I don't know if anybody that's paid money for crates or battle points in PUBG. Like everybody just grinds and tries to win more games, and it really does incentivize playing more, where hey, I'm like 100 points away, I gotta play one more and get some kills so I can get my next crate. And I like the way they stack on top of each other. I don't know how you guys feel about the whole system, but I really enjoy it.
I've already made back the money I spent on the game just from selling crates that I bought using points I earned through the game. So that's pretty nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got
dude.
We got the loot crate connoisseur over here.
It's from those tournament crates. I still have a few that are selling for like $4 a piece. So I've made well over my money spent on the game.
Financial advice with SK Resist coming.
I do what I can.
Coming in the future.
It's that bank life. I tell you what.
This is a multi-value podcast, ladies and gentlemen. You wouldn't get this kind of content anywhere else. Let me tell you.
We teach you something about life here. This is more than just video games.
And unless video games are your life, I mean, then you're getting that lesson too. It's all around good stuff, and we've got the goddamn Vice President of the United States, so you know, fun for the whole family.
You sound different than you do in your speeches, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. It must just be the mic I'm using.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Right now. That's it. Yeah. You like that one?
Good stuff, Mike.
Dude, Mike's mic is not micing. Mike and Ike could be our next sponsor. Mike Dude, Mike Pence is Mike
There
and
you
Ike. Okay, I'm gonna kill this meme before it gets off the ground. Somebody argue it never did.
Yeah, we'll cut that from the final version. Don't worry, listeners.
I think that about does it. We wanted to keep this episode a little shorter so we could focus more on one topic and get more in-depth discussion rather than us just rambling for an hour and 10 minutes. So that kind of wraps up everything we wanted to talk about for this episode. As far as future content from us, I'm currently trying to work on a PUBG video. I've had some issues with NVIDIA Share, or I guess formerly known as Shadow Play, and it's messed up some of my recording, so I'm having some struggles there as far as getting content that isn't like frozen for half the game with only audio playing. But if I can manage to sort that out, I'd love to get a PUBG video out there for you guys. Tad, I know you have some future stuff planned as far as like Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, we played a lot of Dead by Daylight in the past, and now we've kind of stopped a little bit, but we're hoping we can do maybe just do a little like half-hour, 10-20 minute mini series going on and really just dive into one game. I still have the league trivia questions I open up and like revisit and add a couple more or erase some like every
down
week.
His eyes because we're not doing it.
Yeah. So if you watch this and you love me, please like just leave comments about get League of Trivia out. I want to see that. Got this damn folder and I want to use it, man.
Folder. I want it now. But look forward to that. And obviously, we still want to do a squad episode, but I think we're waiting for the updates and to us actually more of us than just Sean to play the game. So look forward to that. But I think, sorry, Sean. But I think
maybe Sean will do a COD 4 episode.
No.
You guys want to do your send-offs, Tad?
Thanks for tuning in to the irregularly uploaded podcast, loyal listeners. I'd say we'll see you in 2 weeks, but I don't know if I will. So
best schedule 2017, dude. Sean?
Oh man.
Doses.
Houses.
There it is.
Matt, Mr. President, Vice President, excuse me.
Remember, kids, if you're having gay thoughts, try 50k watts.
I can't top that. Oh my goodness. I'm just gonna cut it there. That's the end of the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great night. Catch us in 2 weeks next Wednesday. Mike Pence, everybody. Moving, sounds right, good time.